Chapter 31 Young People Don't Respect Martial Ethics. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Good boy. Young people don't respect martial ethics, but they actually carry out sneak attacks. That a smile appeared on Xiao Wuji's face. Huo Feng's preemptive tactic really surprised him, but unfortunately, before the absolute strength gap, sneak attacks are useless. The first soul skill, sword-breaking slash. At this moment, Huo Feng arrived. The dark blue thunder sword streaked through the air, creating sparks of electricity wherever it passed. Dang! That a sound of gold and iron clashing sounded from the field. Xiao Wuji simply stretched out his arms to block his head. The next moment, Huo Feng's whole body flew away. His body flipped around in the air for a week before landing on the ground. Shaking his sore wrist, Huo Feng sighed inwardly. This Xiao Wuji's defensive power is really amazing. He had just struck out with all his strength. And the sword struck Xiao Wuji's arm as if it had been struck on a steel plate. Wherever the thunder sword landed, not a single trace was left, and the attached chain lightning didn't have any effect. The 7 treasures turn out to be colored glaze. At this moment, Ning Rongrong, who was at the back, spun around on the spot and muttered something. A brilliant and colorful light was released from his body. The 7 colored rays of light gathered together, fell on Ning Rongrong's right hand, and finally condensed into a 7-colored pagoda that was more than a foot tall in the palm of his hand. The light is shining and the nobility is compelling. 2 yellow soul rings rose leisurely from his feet, then spiraled upward. The 7 treasures have names. One is power. Ning Rongrong tapped her fingers, and the first soul ring instantly enveloped the colorful pagoda. At the same time, 3 colorful lights floated out and fell on Huo Feng, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhuqing respectively. Suddenly, a solid and warm power seemed to fall from the sky, and then poured into his body, limbs, and bones. It's actually the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. Seeing this scene, Xiao Wuji looked surprised. We were able to recruit a student from the Qibao Liuli family this year, ha 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 ha. The 7 treasures have names, and the second one is, speed. 3 more colorful light gains floated to the 3 of them. Huo Feng immediately felt that his body had become lighter. What Ning Rongrong had just used was her first soul skill and her second soul skill. The effect is to increase strength and speed by 30% respectively. The mainland's #1 auxiliary weapon, Wuhuan, is truly worthy of its reputation, so terrifying. Shua, at this moment, Huo Feng's right hand holding the sword shook violently. The second soul under his feet suddenly lit up, and the ring spiraled up and was put on the long sword. In everyone's surprised eyes, the originally dark blue sword turned red in an instant. The sword body was burning with blazing fire, and the surrounding air was roasted and became a little distorted. It is the second form of the Dugun 9 swords, the fiery sword. Seeing this scene, Xiao Wuji's eyes straightened. This was the first time he had seen a martial spirit that could switch forms. He was getting really excited now. With Ning Rongrong's blessing, Huo Feng raised his sword and rushed out again. The second soul skill, ignite the prairie fire. 3 sword energy carrying flames came out and went straight towards Xiao Wuji. At the same time, on the left and right sides, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing also moved at the same time. It's getting more and more interesting. The corners of Xiao Wuji's mouth raised slightly, then he squatted with his legs half squatted, exerting force on his arms, and his veins suddenly popped out. Bang! The terrifying fists hit the ground heavily. After a muffled sound, the ground shook violently. Immediately afterwards, a wave-like bulge appeared on the ground, rushing towards the direction of the 4 of them. Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing's reactions were very fast. They were agile and used their strength to jump up and avoid the shock. Because Huo Feng was rushing in front, the distance was short and there was no room to dodge. He was knocked back about 5 feet before he stopped. Bah! At the same time, the 3 sword energies of raging fire also fell on Xiao Wuji. The latter remained unmoved, letting the flames burn on his body, and his expression seemed very relaxed. After a few breaths, he suddenly felt something was wrong, and then yelled. Good boy, you actually burned my eyebrows. Huo Feng's second soul skill was still unable to cause substantial damage to Xiao Wuji, but due to his carelessness, both eyebrows were burned off, and the whole face is also a little dark. At this moment, Xiao Wuji's whole appearance was extremely funny. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xiao Wu jumped into the air and curled up into a ball. He rushed over Xiao Wuji's body almost instantly. With a bang sound, Xiao Wu stepped firmly on the ladder's shoulders. The toes suddenly retracted and then twisted sharply. The next second, the feet of the burly Xiao Wuji were taken off the ground. Under Xiao Wu's rapid back flip, the ladder also spun along with it. Xiao Wuji suddenly felt something bad. His face changed slightly, and then his body suddenly swelled. The muscles that were already ridiculous have doubled in size again. He is also 1 meter taller, possessed by a martial spirit. At the same time, 7 gorgeous soul rings rose from under his feet, yellow, purple, black and black. A total of 7 soul rings circled upward. Even so, Xiao Wu still held onto Xiao Wuji's neck. Like a spiritual snake, it swam on the ladder's shoulders. Ding 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 ding. Xiao Wuji, who was paying attention to Xiao Wu, suddenly heard a series of dense crisp sounds behind him. It was Zhu Zhuqing who unleashed his soul skills. As a warrior soul saint of the agility attack system, she was incredibly fast, and she didn't even make the slightest sound before launching her attack, so much so that Xiao Wuji didn't notice it. After being possessed, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes turned into 2 different colors. The 2 sharp claws are extremely sharp, and they specialize in picking out key points to strike. At this moment, Xiao Wuji obviously couldn't care less. At this moment of opportunity, Huo Feng's figure flashed and turned into a black shadow, and in the blink of an eye he was behind the ladder. Zhu Zhuqing on the side trembled, her eyes showing deep surprise and appreciation. Huo Feng's speed really surprised her. A powerful attack-type battle soul master seemed to be faster than himself, an agility attack-type battle soul master. No one noticed that the long sword in Huo Feng's hand turned into a short sword. A short sword as black as ink, the 3rd soul skill. A thought of gods and demons. Dark attribute, Shadow Raid. Huo Feng looked at Xiao Wuji's lower back and stabbed out with his sword without any hesitation. Almost at the same time, his other hand successfully touched Xiao Wuji. Ah! Xiao Wuji, who had been smiling just now, suddenly turned pale. A sharp pain came from his waist. I couldn't help shouting on the spot, ding. It is detected that the host has come into contact with Xiao Wuji. May I ask if the host chooses to sacrifice? Chapter 32 Tang San Blacksmithing in Sotuo City. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Sacrifice, Huo Feng answered directly without thinking, ding. Xiao Wuji's sacrifice was successful. Hidden mission completed. Task rewards have been distributed. Reward the host's soul power to increase by 5 levels. Sacrifice points increased by 1,500 points. Huo Feng didn't have time to analyze what the system in his mind said to him. His attention was entirely on Xiao Wuji. At this time, there was a sharp pain like a needle pricking in my waist. I didn't expect these bastards to be so cruel. He was just about to get rid of the people around him, but who would have thought that a sense of dizziness suddenly hit him at this critical moment. The time is very short, only about 2 breaths, but just this short interval caused his body to lose balance. Bang! Under the combined efforts of Huo Feng, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing, Xiao Wuji fell heavily. Because the latter was extremely tall after being possessed by the martial spirit, the gravity it endured was also quite large. This caused Xiao Wuji's head to sink completely into the soil. Hiss! Dai Mubai, who was watching the battle not far away, gasped when he saw such a scene. This group of people is really terrifying. Although Teacher Xiao did not release soul skills, it was just a simple martial soul possession, but these 4 guys were not only able to break through the defense of the powerful Diamond Bear, but they also made Teacher Xiao look like this embarrassed person now. I'm afraid you're going to be miserable. Dai Mubai glanced at the stick of incense stuck on the ground. It was already 2/3 of the way burning. In other words, they only need to persist for 1/3 more time to pass the assessment. At this moment, Xiao Wuji got up from the ground in disgrace. He lightly patted the dust on his body, and his expression suddenly became serious. Originally, he was playing against 4 kids in their 20s and 30s just for fun. Who would have thought that because of his carelessness, he, a level 76, soul saint, would suffer a loss on his opponent. Come on, keep going, Xiao Wuji shouted and continued to assume a defensive posture. Huo Feng and the other 3 looked at each other and understood each other's intentions. The 3rd soul skill, Light Wings Continuous Slash. As the voice fell, the black dagger in Huo Feng's hand changed again. a dazzling golden light flashed past, the golden giant sword shimmered with dazzling light, as if bathing in the sun. The golden giant sword was very heavy, and it was difficult for Huo Feng to lift it. At the same time, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing rushed out again. Shua! 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 .3 sword beams emitting golden light shot out instantly, approaching Xiao Wuji. The dazzling light caused the latter to temporarily lose consciousness. At this time, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing arrived at the same time. After Xiao Wuji reacted, he directly slapped Xiao Wu with his palm. However, Xiao Wu suddenly changed direction, and the former's palm naturally failed. Instead, he was kicked hard on the shoulder. The two yellow soul rings under Zhu Zhuqing's feet lit up at the same time, and his two-color pupils, one blue and one green, suddenly stood up. Her speed increased sharply in the next second. The second soul skill, 100 Claws of the Netherworld, relying on the rapid rotation of the body and the sharp and penetrating attack power of the cat's claws, the Nether 100 Claws can attack the enemy hundreds of times in a very short period of time. The most terrifying thing is that every attack is at the same location, and the power is extremely amazing. It was like a rapidly rotating gear, rapidly cutting through Xiao Wuji's back. At this moment, 3 light wings hit Xiao Wuji's chest from the front. The terrifying power caused 3 shallow scars to appear directly on the latter's body, and accompanied by a very obvious burning sensation. Ho! A cold light flashed in Xiao Wuji's eyes, and a roar suddenly sounded. The first of the 7 soul rings at his feet suddenly lit up. A strong golden light burst out instantly. Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing beside him were directly ejected. Huo Feng quickly rushed forward and caught them both with one hand. The strong shock caused blood to surge in their chests. You can even feel the faint smell of blood in your throat. Ning Rongrong, who was standing behind, was a little anxious when she saw this scene, but as an auxiliary soul master, there was nothing she could do. What Xiao Wuji just released was his first soul skill. Although it is only the first soul skill, the power released by a 76th level soul saint is still extremely terrifying. Huo Feng glanced down and saw that the stick of incense stuck on the ground had only the last tail left. But now Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing are obviously no longer suitable to continue fighting. That being the case, the first soul skill, sword breaking slash. The second soul skill, ignite the prairie fire. The third soul skill, shadow strike. Put the 2 women aside. Huo Feng's 3 soul rings lit up at the same time, directly bombarding Xiao Wuji. A look of surprise flashed in the latter's eyes. From the beginning of the battle to now, this kid has hardly stopped. He didn't expect that he would have so much soul power left to support him in releasing 3 soul skills in succession. When he came back to his senses, 2 completely different sword lights produced by Huo Feng's first soul skill and second soul skill had already reached his eyes. Xiao Wuji stretched out his huge palm and slapped it fiercely. The 2 sword rays instantly turned into energy points and dissipated into the air. When he looked up, he found that there was nothing in front of him. Huo Feng is missing. Almost at the same time, an extremely familiar pain came from the back of my waist. Xiao Wuji's face darkened. This boy's tricks were so sinister. There were so many places, but he chose the 2 waists where his defense was weakest. Which man can bear this horse riding? After the sneak attack was successful, Huo Feng dodged and retreated 5 feet away. Xiao Wuji clenched his fists, and his second soul ring suddenly lit up. Just as he was about to take action, Dai Mubai's voice came from the side at the right time. Teacher Xiao, it's time for a stick of incense. The former was stunned for a moment, then turned around to see that the stick of incense stuck on the ground had indeed burned out. He could only nod helplessly. You guys are lucky. After saying that, he covered his waist and left without looking back. At the same time, in an ordinary blacksmith shop in Sotuo City, a boy about 12 or 13 years old was sweating profusely while blacksmithing. His skillful technique attracted admiration from the shopkeepers nearby. Such a young child has such forging skills. What a malleable talent. If Huo Feng were here, he would definitely be able to recognize the young man who was blacksmithing. It was Tang San. Failed to pass Shrek Academy's entrance exam, Tang San was extremely depressed. After leaving the village, he returned to Sotuo City. All the 10 gold soul coins he had on him were given to Shrek Academy. Being penniless, he could only find a blacksmith shop to survive. At least food and accommodation are included. The teacher said that after his trip to the imperial capital, he will come to Sotuo City soon. Tang San held the hammer in his hand with a firm expression. Xiaogang told him that Shrek Academy had some connections with him. As long as the teacher comes, with this relationship, it is not impossible to enter Shrek Academy. Chapter 37 Superimposed Mission Reward, 1 Right Arm Soul Bone. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Before anyone else could react, Zhu Zhuqing pounced directly from the air, without any fear that the opponent was a 1,000-year-old soul beast. At the same time, the sharp claws and the first soul ring on the body light up at the same time, and the nether thrust is launched. With the distance getting closer, others were finally able to see clearly the phoenix-tailed cockscomb snake just described by Zhu Zhuqing. What catches the eye is its unusually large size. Its appearance is exactly as Zhu Zhuqing described, with a length of 6 or 7 meters. There is a bright red flesh crown on the head, which looks a bit ferocious. Its fast-moving body was hit by Zhu Zhuqing. The latter's netherworld thorn shot directly towards the fleshy crown on top of its head. The crested snake reacted very quickly. Even as it rushed forward, the snake's head swerved in its haste, cleverly dodged the attack. Zhu Zhuqing's claw did not hit the flesh crown, but hit it. The phoenix-tailed cockscomb made a muffled sound, and its forward speed suddenly slowed down a bit. At the same time, the snake tilted its head, opened its mouth suddenly, and sprayed out a mouthful of colorful mist towards Zhu Zhuqing. Almost at the same time, the bright red meat crown on its head lit up, and the speed that had just been stagnant for a moment increased instantly again. White Tiger Vajra Transformation. At the critical moment, Dai Mubai directly activated his third soul skill, White Tiger King Kong Transformation. His body instantly expanded and he rushed towards the direction of the crested snake. Bang! There was a dull loud noise. The phoenix-tailed crested snake's forward figure suddenly stopped, its huge body twisted in the air, and fell to the ground, but Dai Mubai, who had just thrown a full punch, also grunted and fell back nearly 10 meters before stopping. At this moment, Ma Hongjuan's martial spirit released the pressure with all its strength. The phoenix-tailed cockscomb may have felt the aura of the evil fire phoenix, and its body couldn't help trembling. This kind of natural bloodline suppression always makes the soul beast feel fear deep in its heart. However, it is a 1,000-year soul beast after all, and it is not so easy to be willing to die. With a twist of the snake's body, the crested snake not only escaped one of Ma Hongjuan's attacks, but also slipped into the tall grass nearby. The grass swayed back and forth, and even though it was swimming close to the ground, its speed was still extremely fast, and it was already 10 meters away in the blink of an eye. Want to run? Huo Feng, who was standing at the end of the team, saw this scene and jumped slightly. The next second, he was already 1 meter high in the air. Broken Sword Slash. The first soul skill was activated. The thunder sword flashed with electric light, and he slashed out with one strike. Bah! Chain lightning struck the tall grass, turning the entire grass into charred black in an instant. The phoenix-tailed cockscomb snake hiding among them was naturally revealed. At this moment, the latter's speed obviously slowed down, and the flesh and blood under the surface kept twitching. The whole snake was electrocuted by Huo Feng. Fire sets a prairie fire. Huo Feng shook his right hand, and the thunder sword transformed into a fiery sword in an instant. The fire roared, and a red sword light flashed out. Boom! The crested snake that had just been electrocuted came into contact with the blazing fire, and a slight explosion occurred directly on the surface of its body. The severe pain caused him to twist his body continuously. I want to use this to relieve the pain all over my body. However, its violent movement set the surrounding vegetation on fire. The fire in his body grew stronger and stronger. Although the phoenix-tailed cockscomb looks extremely embarrassed at this moment, it is a 1,000-year level soul beast after all. Huo Feng's current strength is not enough to kill him with one blow. Bang! At this moment, Xiao Wu fiercely stamped his foot on the ground, with the third soul ring shining on his body. The body of the 1,000-year-old phoenix-tailed cockscomb suddenly stiffened, and its speed slowed down significantly. It was Xiao Wuji's third soul ring skill gravity enhancement. Immediately afterwards, the fourth and fifth soul rings on Xiao Wuji lit up at the same time. His body suddenly jumped into the air, and when he fell down again, under the influence of the fourth soul ring skill's positioning and tracking, he came right in front of the Millennium Phoenix-tailed cockscomb snake, and the gravity squeeze was activated at the same time. no matter how slippery the phoenix-tailed cockscomb snake is, it has no room to display it in front of Xiao Wuji's tyrannical soul power. This is the power of the 76th level soul saint. It is still easy to deal with a 1,000-year soul beast. Xiao Wuji reached out with his bare paw, pinched the head of the crested snake, and raised it in front of him. The other hand raised its hand and flicked its crest. Facing the violence of the powerful Vajra bear, the phoenix-tailed cockscomb was knocked unconscious by the flick. Xiao Wuji twisted his lips into a smile, then took out a short blade from his waist and handed it to Oscar. Yi Chang Meng Duo, let's do it. Pierce it from the point below its flesh crown and you can pierce its brain. This soul ring will be yours. It's done. Everyone looked happy. This trip to the Star Doe forest went surprisingly smoothly. Only Xiao Wu in the crowd looked a little weird, his face even turned slightly pale. Huo Feng, who was standing next to him, naturally noticed. He also knew very well that the reason why Xiao Wu reacted like this was because she was also a spirit beast herself. As for the others, their attention was focused on the cockscomb snake. No one noticed anything unusual about Xiao Wu at this moment. Oscar took the short blade excitedly. At this moment, this 1,000-year soul beast was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered in front of him. He was about to succeed in the third soul skill, and he was so excited that his hands were trembling slightly. Raising the short blade, Oscar was about to strike. At this moment, a hoarse scolding sound suddenly sounded. Immediately afterwards, two figures jumped out from the direction where the phoenix-tailed crested snake flew from before, and appeared in front of everyone. These two people, one old and one young, are both women. The old man looked to be 60 or 70 years old, and his white hair was neatly combed. Although he is not young, he is very energetic. Although there are many wrinkles on his face, he is as rosy as a baby. A pair of eyes were full of energy. His right hand holds a 3-meter-long snake-headed crutch, and the 6 soul rings on his body are moving up and down rhythmically. Following the old woman was a beautiful girl with short ear-length hair who looked about 16 or 17 years old. A neat outfit tightly covered her already well-developed figure, and a pair of big dark brown eyes were staring closely at the crested snake in Xiao Wuji's hand. She also held a snake-head crutch in her hand, but it was shorter than the old woman's, only 2 meters long, and the soul ring on her body was only 200 years old. Meng Yiran. Seeing the person coming, Huo Feng murmured to himself, according to the plot, there seems to be a scene between Meng Yiran and the unparalleled dragon snake, Ding. The system detects the 1,000-year-old soul beast phoenix-tailed cockscomb. The system detects that Meng still appears. Hidden mission triggered. 1. Sacrifice the 1,000-year-old soul beast phoenix-tailed cockscomb. 2. Sacrifice Meng Yiran. Superimposed mission reward, right arm soul bone *1. Chapter 38 The Bitter Oscar. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Sacrifice the cockscomb snake. Sacrifice Meng Yiran. This guy, Huo Feng took a deep breath in his heart. The first one he had thought about before was to wait until Oscar successfully absorbed the soul ring. I found an opportunity to quietly sacrifice the body of this phoenix-tailed crested snake, but the system now adds another Meng Yiran to this task. This guy is not easy to sacrifice. Huo Feng raised his eyes and looked at Xiao Tianxiang, who was not far from Meng Yiran. If I remember correctly, this Lao Deng was a soul emperor in his 60s. Moreover, Meng Yiran should also have Grandpa Meng Shu, a Contra who is over 80 levels, who is also nearby. When making sacrifices, it is important to let nature take its course and not to force the sacrifice. If you want to sacrifice Meng Yiran, you have to have a chance to fight with him. Now we can only take one step at a time, if there is no suitable opportunity, although the reward is very good. But I'm afraid I have no choice but to give up on this hidden mission. The appearance of the old woman and the little girl surprised everyone at the same time. Such a situation happened suddenly, and everyone was unexpected. But when they saw that there were 6 soul rings on the old woman's body, they all breathed a sigh of relief. After all, the 7 soul rings on Xiao Wuji are not for nothing, especially those deep black 10,000-year soul rings, which nakedly display their intimidating power. Xiao Wuji stepped down and his body fell in front of Huo Feng and the others. Soul Saint. Xiao Tianxiang's expression changed. This is just the outskirts of the Star Forest. How could a soul saint appear? Her heart suddenly sank, knowing that she might not be able to get over it today. What's the matter with you? Xiao Wuji glanced at the old woman, his eyes fell on the snakehead crutch in her hand, and he couldn't help but think of a person in his heart. His voice wasn't too harsh, but sounded strangely gentle. This surprised Dai Mubai, who knew him well. Fudo Meo never has a good look towards people who are not as powerful as him, especially when the other party is obviously interested in a 1,000-year-old phoenix-tailed cockscomb. Ahem. Chao Tianxiang coughed lightly, making the expression on his face look normal and softer, then he spoke softly. Dear soul saint, hello, you cannot give this crested snake to this child. As she spoke, her eyes fell on Oscar, who looked confused next to her. At this moment, the latter had 10,000 grass and mud horses galloping past in his heart. What's the matter with this horse-riding guy? You can kill that phoenix-tailed cockscomb immediately, and then absorb your third soul ring. As a result, something happened at a crucial moment. Xiao Wuji held the crested snake with one hand and glanced at Oscar, signaling him to wait. He turned to look at the old woman, frowned and said, Why, that at this moment, Chao Tianxiang's spirit has calmed down a bit. Because we discovered this snake first and hunted it first. Otherwise, how could we have tracked it all the way here? Oscar on the side couldn't bear it anymore and shouted a few words. How can you prove that it was you who hunted it first? When we found it, we saw no sign of you. Although he was a little angry, he obviously had not lost his mind. There is nothing wrong with what he said. Chao Tianxiang smiled slightly, her eyes fell on Oscar again, and the corner of her mouth couldn't help but reveal a hint of pride. Young man, don't worry. Look at the belly of this crested snake. There are 2 scars on it, which were just hit by my cane. There are also scars on the underside of the wings. I just accidentally let this slippery little guy escape. My granddaughter has just reached level 30 and is in great need of this spirit ring. As you have seen, she inherited my weapon spirit snake staff. An advanced snake spirit is the most suitable for her. Xiao Wuji lowered his head and looked at the belly of the cockscomb snake in his hand, and then his eyes narrowed slightly. Sure enough, as the old woman said, there were indeed such scars. There was a cold glint in his eyes, but if that was all he wanted to make King Fudoming compromise and let go, that would be simply a fantasy. Xiao Wuji smiled coldly. Senior, haven't you asked me your name yet? The old woman said. I don't dare. My body is so fragrant that my friends in the Menghan Master world think highly of me and gave me the title of Snake Woman. My husband's name is Meng Shu, and he is known as Duke Long. This time he came to the Star Do Forest to find a suitable third soul ring for our granddaughter. I don't think the children around you are old enough to absorb a 1,000-year soul ring. Even though the soul ring of the phoenix-tailed cockscomb snake is milder, it's not something they can absorb. When mentioning her granddaughter Meng Yiran, Chao Tianxiang showed a trace of unabashed pride on her face. In her opinion, Dai Mubai, the eldest among the children in front of her, was younger than her granddaughter, and she was extremely confident in her granddaughter's strength. She didn't think that any of the children in front of her could reach level 30 earlier than her granddaughter. After hearing the old woman's self-introduction, Xiao Wuji was secretly surprised. He held down Oscar, who was still about to argue, and said in a deep voice, Are you the senior snake lady among the unparalleled dragons and snakes? Chao Tianxiang smiled calmly. I don't dare, that's right. Haven't you asked the name of the soul saint yet? The expression on Xiao Wuji's face changed slightly. He had already heard the name of the unparalleled dragon snake. This couple debuted very early and have extraordinary strength, especially Duke Long Meng Shu. When I heard about him, Duke Long was already at the level of Soul Saint. Even if he has reached the Contra realm now, he will never be surprised. Duke Long's martial spirit is a crutch with a dragon head, which complements Snake Po's crutch with a snake head. The couple has an extremely domineering spirit fusion technique that is difficult to resist unless they have the strength of a title Douluo. Xiao Wuji was just a soul saint. Even though the snake woman in front of him looked weaker than him, as long as Duke Long appeared, there was no one he could deal with. The matchless dragon and snake husband and wife have a very good relationship, and they never separate. If the snake woman is here, the dragon master must not be far away. This is Xiao Wuji. After thinking again and again, the expression on Xiao Wuji's face softened a bit, and then he announced his name. Chao Tianxiang's expression also moved slightly. No wonder, I said, how could I meet such a young soul saint casually? It turns out to be Fudo Ming King, who is famous in the soul master world. Xiao Wuji smiled awkwardly, thinking to himself that as a famous soul master in the world, he probably deserved a bad reputation. Since the hard one can't come, then try the soft one. He waved his hand and shook his head and said, I don't dare to take it seriously. I was quite notorious back then. But these years I have been living in seclusion and teaching some students in a college. This time I brought these children to the Star Doe Forest. One was to get a soul ring for one of them, and the other was also here to show them the world. Unexpectedly, he met a senior.